Hey everybody, my name is Shamara. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. For those of you who are new here, I appreciate you. For those of you who have seen a video of mine before, I appreciate you as well. And I never did an intro to my videos. Maybe I'll go back and do one, but I am just a girl who loves the Lord and want to share that love with you, and hopefully you can experience the love of the Lord for yourself. But I wanted to share with you all something that God has me reading. He has me on a Bible plan reading about King David. And I started with 1 Samuel chapter, I don't know, whenever Saul got rejected. I wanted to go back a little bit. So now I'm in chapter 17. And I wanted to share something with you guys that I thought hopefully would inspire you. It inspired me. And hopefully it'll do the same for you. So let me get my Bible. And you guys gonna see the ring light cam in here because I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay because we're here now. So I'm reading out of the King James Version, just so everyone knows. And I am in 1 Samuel chapter 17. I'm starting at verse 4. And I wanted to share with you all David and Goliath. And many of you, or maybe all of you, are familiar with David and Goliath, how David slew Goliath with 5 smooth stones. But you know, oftentimes when we read through the Bible, we read through and we kind of just read it. I know I do. Sometimes I just read and I'm just reading as if I'm reading a regular book. And this is no regular book by any means. You know, the Bible is God's true and living word. And God will illuminate his word for you. He will illuminate things that he wants you to know, or something that he wants to penetrate your heart. And he'll do it. It could be the same verse. You could read it 10 times and get 12 different things out of it. So I read through the story again. And as I read through the story, I noticed something, and hopefully, you know, maybe you guys have noticed it as well. But if you have, this is a refresher. And if you haven't, I hope that this encourages you. So I'm going to start with 1 Samuel chapter 17, starting at verse 4. And this is the King James, the New King James Version. So Goliath is pretty much taunting the whole army of Israel, Saul included. And sorry guys, there's something going on out there. Oh, anyway, something's going on out there. So in verse 4 it starts, and a champion went out from the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had bronze armor on his legs and a bronze javelin between his shoulders. Now the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his iron spearhead weighed 600 shekels, and a shield bearer went before him. And then it goes on to talk about how Goliath taunts the army of Israel and, you know, just kind of flaunting his big stuff all over the place. But as I read this, I read it so many times before, but I was like, Lord, why did you take the time to explain? Why did you want us to know what Goliath had on us? Very important. So keep in mind everything that I just mentioned there that Goliath had on, and then I'll read what the notes say about Goliath's armor. So this is the study Bible. The notes say the cubit was about 18 inches and a span was 9 inches. Thus, Goliath stood 9 feet 9 inches tall. Okay. Bronze helmet. Ordinary troops had leather helmets. Goliath's coat of mail was made of overlapping notes of bronze sewn on leather. The armor weighed 5,000 shekels, or about 125 pounds. Bronze armor refers to the greaves that protect Goliath's legs. The bronze javelin. This oversized weapon was designed for hurling. Between his shoulders means strapped to his back. The spear was a weapon designed for hand-to-hand combat, like a long sword. 600 shekels. The head of Goliath's spear weighed about 17 pounds. And the last note, which refers to the shield bearer. There are two different Hebrew words for shield. One refers to a small, round shield, usually worn on the left arm. The other, used here, refers to a much larger oblong shield, often carried by the shield bearer as the soldier moved into battle. And then the note goes on to say, Goliath was a veritable war machine. Keep that in mind. And I'm reading this to you because I want us to understand it doesn't matter how big your Goliath is. So, and what he or it has on, how protected whatever it is, whatever the Goliath of your life is. Let's just keep reading though. We're going to jump over to chapter 17, verse 34. Now, David has been sent down to bring sandwiches for his brothers, for, the army. His dad sent him to go check on his brother. So he's there. David, at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I know he's a teen. He's a youth. He's a young man. He maybe 15 to 19. I'm not sure. I have to check on that. And if you guys know, feel free to comment and let me know. Correct me. But I know he's young. And so he goes down. He hears Goliath taunting the Israelites. He hears, him speaking against the army of God. And he doesn't like it. And Saul said, hey, whoever defeats him is going to get a reward. And David was like, a reward? I'm in. So keep all that in mind. Verse 34. But David said to Saul, your servant used, I'm sorry. Let me go to 38. Forgive me. That's my highlight, but we're going to go down a little bit further. 38. So Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put a bronze helmet on his head. He also clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near the Philistine. So the Philistine came and began drawing near to David. And the man who bore the shield went before him. And then it goes on to in 42 and going down, how basically Goliath is totally insulted that this young little boy came to fight him. So skipping down to verse 45, and I want to, this is important. All of it's important, but this too. Verse 45. Then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword and a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your hand from you, your head from you, your head. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Then all his assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And that's 45 through 47. So we all know the rest. The reason why I wanted to share this with you, and I believe God wants me to share this with you, is because we are facing our own personal giants. And to us, they are huge, mammoths, 9'9" war machines, as the Bible describes Goliath, armed in what may seem like impenetrable armor, with protection all around him. But it doesn't matter. You can take whatever it is that you have, because it's what God gave you. and you go with God. God is fighting your battle. He will defeat your Goliath. Notice how David put God into this whole battle, which is one thing that if you read through this, you'll notice that no one in the Israelite army did, not even Saul. No one put God in the battle, not according to the Bible. But David came with God, and he trusts God, and he had faith, and he knows who he is in God. And I'm saying to you the same thing. And he proclaimed it. He let the enemy know what time it was. So I'm saying the same thing to you. It doesn't matter what your enemy looks like. It doesn't matter how big your enemy is. It does not matter. You go with God. You go with what God has given you, and you declare and you decree your victory over your Goliath. God is fighting the battle. He just needs you to trust him to see him through it. So don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed. Don't even feel defeated. One thing about David, he was not arrogant. He was not cocky. He was confident in the Lord because he understood and he knew that God would see him through. And he had reason to. You know, when he tended to the sheep, he protected the sheep from I believe a bear and a lion, and it does explain that in the Bible. And he's a youth. Remember, he's not a grown man now. He's a young man trusting and believing in the Lord. I bet you if you just think back to some times and some moments that God has got you through, you'll know that whatever it is you're going through right now, God will get you through that too. So take some time to go and read that for yourself. It's 1 Samuel chapter 17. Read through the whole thing. You guys will probably hear me saying more about King David as I am reading through this Bible plan that God has put me on. So I hope that you will tune in to listen to some more of what God has to say through his word. I thank you again for spending your time with me. Please comment and let me know your thoughts. If anything, maybe, that I need to know, please share. I would love to hear from you guys. And again, I thank you for visiting with me. Again, my name is Shamara. If you like what you heard, feel free to share it with someone. Maybe somebody needs to hear it. Or why don't you go and encourage someone? Let the Lord minister to you, and you go minister to someone else. Love you guys, but more importantly, God loves you. I'll see you soon.